Today we're going to be looking at a Sinister Six for Invincible. I've been doing some Invincible content here and there, and I know I am predominantly a DC channel, and I know I've done a lot of Sinister Six videos for DC characters, but today there will be no DC on the board. So we're gonna look at 4 teams in which Invincible will have to dig deep and go into his full power potential, considering this is a character who likes to get his ass kicked quite often. So perhaps we're looking at a more veteran presence of an Invincible. So let's get right into this. For Team 1, I have Angstrom Levy, Tether Tyrant, Megmaniac, Doc Seismic, Elephant, and Powerplex. I think if you're dealing with an ordinary Invincible, there's at least 3 characters right here who could handle him on his own, but we are dealing with an Invincible who needs to have more power to take on 6 villains at a time. Elephant is the one outlier here, but everyone else on this team has a personal gripe against Invincible. They all have reasons as to why they want to defeat him, and this would purely be a revenge plot to kill Mark Grayson once and for all. Angstrom Levy viewing Invincible as every universe's problem, including his own, Powerplex blaming him for the death of his sister, Doc Seismic always getting bested and outmanned by him at the end of battles. And then if you look at someone like Elephant who doesn't really have that motivation towards him, perhaps you could just use something petty. He's been thrown into prison and defeated by Invincible after bragging about how powerful and unstoppable he truly is, and he wants to now prove otherwise. I of course believe that this team would be powerful enough and probably smart and strategic enough to take on an Invincible who's at the height of his power, but I also believe this would be a very definitive look at what a real Sinister Six would look like for Invincible. When we look at Spider-Man, we all have a picture of what the original Sinister Six is. This is the team I think that would be for Invincible. I mean, how would Invincible really plan around this? The Angstrom's ability to travel to different dimensions, always changing his scenery and surroundings, never being able to get a firm grip. Energy displacement and durability from Powerplex, including the fact that he just purely hates Invincible on every level. Tether Tyrant, whereas he might not be the strongest character there, he's definitely a nuisance with the amount of distraction he could cause to Invincible. And then Megmaniac with his magma, lava, fire abilities, what's not to like there? That's going to do at least some form of damage to Invincible and could also be seen as a nuisance in certain aspects as well, depending on how he uses his powers. Obviously, you would have Angstrom Levy leading this team, devising a plan on how they could truthfully kill this world's Invincible. Usually in my Sinister Six videos, I like to give you a character that would potentially turn on this team, that could potentially be some sort of benefit or help to your main character. This isn't saying this has to happen in every story, but just hypothetically, if someone was to go against this team, I think it would have to be Tether Tyrant and Megmaniac. And spoilers ahead, if you have not seen any of the episodes in the most recent season, I'll wait a couple seconds here. Okay, kind of a picture of these 2 characters who don't necessarily want to be villains, but they feel as if they have no choice. Their lives have been flipped upside down. They're poor. They have no place to live, but you can clearly see they have an affinity or a care for children, not wanting to do anything of these bad choices in which they do in front of kids. And maybe you could see a situation in which these 2 characters think our gripe shouldn't actually be with Invincible himself. It is us who need to get our lives back on track and look at all these other people that we have either killed in the process or are just simply having them in a threat in which this fight is happening. They're not inherently evil, it's just decisions they have made have led them down a path of being on the wrong side. Perhaps they would be able to clear their mind throughout a story like this and help Invincible. Now for Team 2, I have Machine Head, Biplane, Kursk, Isotope, Furnace, and Kill Cannon. I don't necessarily think this Sinister Six team is all that powerful and would really stand any form of a chance against an Invincible. This would be a team that you could maybe pit against a younger Invincible, someone who does like to get beat up a lot and would definitely find a way to get beat up by this team. You have a Machine Head, which is kind of like a Kingpin or Black Mask-esque type of a character, Biplane, who's like a Vulture, Kursk, who's similar to Electro. A lot of these characters could be seen as, I don't want to call them that and depreciate their value, but kind of tutorial characters to a early aged Invincible. I do see this as a team though in which Machine Head wants to keep his grip on the crime syndicate in his city, and Invincible has perhaps been causing problems for him throughout the city, disrupting dealings and any form of business he might have running, and he develops a team of characters in which they would have to put this nuisance down in Invincible, really going against his early weaknesses that he hasn't been able to pinpoint yet since he's so early in his Invincible career. Other than Isotope being a loyal right-hand man to a leader in Machine Head, all of these other characters just remind me of characters who would indeed take any form of payment and do any form of job they would need to do to get that pay. They don't care who the target is and what they have to do, they will just do it. I don't really believe there is anyone on this team who would potentially go against them. The only one I could really think of in this certain scenario would be Isotope. Realizing that Invincible is beating this team, Machine Head's rule is really coming to a close, it's winding down on him, and he'd rather not be on a losing side or support his endeavors any further, and instead of just leaving and switching sides to Invincible, he would simply just leave. And those characters together eventually would stand no chance against Invincible. Then for Team 3, we have Titan, Battle Beast, Mastermind, Mauler Twins, Isotope, and Multi-Paul. So here's the situation with this team before we get into some of the details. This is technically 7 characters. I understand 100% maybe removing a Mauler twin or maybe removing another character like Isotope since I already put him on the last team. Regardless, these are the ideas I had in mind for the team. Titan, where at one point didn't necessarily have too much bad blood against Invincible, this would be a character who now owns this crime organization and wants to keep a firm grip on it far better than Machine Head did. So in this instance, he's not just employing any regular character to help him take on Invincible if his threat ever comes around. Not necessarily wanting to kill him maybe, but the ability to tell him, don't mess around with me because if you do, I can kill you. Don't threaten your own life. Usually I would say Battle Beast being on this team would be way too much, but I am thinking of a world in which Invincible is seen to be one of the top dogs in the universe, so there has to come a point where he could take on a team like this on his own. Maybe to make this a real 6-person team, you could take Isotope out, in which he is the right-hand man to Titan, but only deals in business. He doesn't take part in any of the fighting that this Sinister Six team would be part of, or you could even do something where one of the Mauler twins eventually dies, so there's only one Mauler. Titan would employ Mastermind as more than likely his strategist and his battle planner. Then you'd have Battle Beast and the Mauler twins, who would just be overwhelmingly powerful in strength and durability. And then Multi-Paul, who would just be overwhelming in the amount of clones he'd be creating and just the presence of someone against him everywhere around him. This would be a tiring team, and in all honesty, I think the deal breaker here for him is Battle Beast. However, I do believe the character, if this were to happen, that would go against the Sinister Six of this team would actually be Titan himself. I don't think Titan inherently hates Invincible, and I think Titan does in his own way have a very good heart, and that heart might actually get in the way of what he's doing to Invincible, the harm he's causing him, the people around him, maybe people he cares about, and the fact that he could even potentially kill him. I think at one point, Titan might even feel as if this is not important, this isn't worth my time, stop the assault, stop the threat on his life. That is, of course, Invincible finds himself in a situation where he can't really beat this team and he's having a hard time. Maybe enough time would pass where Titan is, I'm done with it. Now, finally, for Team 4, and before I get into it, my inspiration for this team is a world in which Mark Grayson was evil. In fact, most universes, Mark is evil. So this is actually more likely to happen than a world where Mark is good. Technically, this team is from the perspective of how Cecil would counteract an evil Invincible. This team will have 7 characters on the surface, but only 6 of them will actually be doing the fighting. This team is Cecil, Master Leyu, or more importantly, the dragon construct that comes with him, Battle Beast again, Speed Racer, the Immortal, Robot, and Alan the Alien. Cecil would be the mastermind of the group, finding a way to subdue an evil Invincible, or even at the end of the day, kill him, but of course wouldn't be on the battlefield. So the Sinister Six here is every other character excluding him. I do believe if Invincible was evil, you would have a lot of more characters jumping on this boat to try and defeat him, including people who are really close to him, especially someone like Adam Eve. But I don't think Cecil would want to use someone like Adam Eve, someone who is so emotionally attached to the character. He needs to be smart and strategic about this himself. The dragon that comes from Master Leyu is nearly indestructible and almost unbeatable. Regular Invincible wouldn't be able to get around him, and evil Invincible, don't get me wrong, there's no restraints at this point. He is just off the chains powerful, but even that dragon would be a hard matchup for him. How Cecil would be controlling that dragon in any way, I don't know, but Cecil has a contingency plan for anything and everything. Battle Beast is here again because once again, this is a character that just doesn't defeat Guardians of the Globe. He can fight Viltrumites. He's laid waste to Invincible before. Someone of his power, I think, would need to be on this team to at least find ways to match Invincible one-on-one in strength. Space Racer is here out of the stories and the concepts of the idea that this is a character who has an infinity gun that can lay waste to planets, let alone a Viltrumite. He does not have the abilities and the durability of a lot of these really powerful characters, so if Invincible got his hands on him, he's potentially going to kill him quite easy, but if you use this character from a distance in which he tries to shoot Invincible, that could be some deadly consequences, even for an evil Invincible. The Immortal, he does not care who you are. If you are threatening Earth in any way, he's going to be there. He can pack a punch, he's on the same level of a Viltrumite, even though he always gets his ass handed to him by Omni-Man, but still, he can cause some damage. He can go one-on-one with Invincible, and when you match him up with all these other characters at his back, it's not going to be so easy defeating Immortal at the same time. Then you have Robot, which would be your on-field battle strategist. He would be able to help this team in finding ways on how to, at the very least, subdue him if that's what it has to come down to. Alan the Alien. I know I made that comment about Adam Eve earlier, and it might be the same situation for Alan, in which he would find it perhaps difficult to have to put down a friend or fight a friend. It could be very emotional, but I do think that Alan's focus is very heavy on the Viltrumite war and empire and the threat they bring along everywhere, and now seeing Mark bringing it to Earth, it's something he would have to stop once and for all. And Alan is a character who gets stronger in his physiology every single day. I think if you could use Alan in a form of a method of reasoning, if it works, it works, why not try it? But very likely an evil Invincible is already too far gone to want to hear anything of reason in the form of stand down, you're not evil, he won't care at that point, it's probably not going to work. I think the biggest downfall of this team would actually be this idea of Cecil putting too many eggs in one basket and it just overflows beyond his control. I think it would come down to Dragon and or Battle Beast. I don't know how efficiently he would be able to control the Dragon entity, if he even could at all. I think the idea of having it on a team is good in theory because it could bring down Mark, but I don't know if there's any way he could control the soul of the thing. I don't really care what Cecil has on a character like him. I think Battle Beast is just a character who likes to battle. He likes to inflict some sort of pain or damage. You would need to be on the lookout of what would stop this character from just causing even more chaos and turning on the team and fighting them as well, and just having one massive battle royale in the middle of an overly populated city. There is a lot of ways this team could go right for Cecil, but I would argue many more ways, if not handled properly or efficiently, it could go so far wrong to the point where this good Sinister Six against an evil Invincible just completely backfires in all the worst ways. But there you have it, 4 teams of a Sinister Six for Invincible, one of which is against him but evil. So you guys, let me know in the comments below which of these 4 teams are your favorite and what your Sinister Six would personally look like for Invincible. Let me know if you guys want to see this type of video again, but maybe with some other popular Invincible characters like an Omni-Man or an Adam Eve, or if there's anyone else in DC you'd like to see it done for. That is all I have for you on this video, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it, and until the next time, I will talk to you all very soon.